You will get a variety of guesses to what the music possibly sounds like to a person, and that's just because of the duality of what the music can do. It may sound like fun or celebratory, or maybe like regal and bold. It could be fierce, passionate, or elegant and charming. And again, the duality of the music with the story that it's telling. It's also coming from like different regions. The diversity. Not often people think about what like Filipino music sounds like. I've actually done like a workshop activity with students on listening to like different styles of music, of Filipino music, and trying to like guess like where it's from. So they're all from the Philippines. They're all traditional music, but not without telling them, trying to let them guess and see like where it's from, like what's playing and whatnot. We have a variety of like string instruments and percussion instruments, and responses that I'll get, like people will think it's from like all over the world, like Spain, Mediterranean, Malaysia, Indonesia, African music. So what's great is that it shows the history of the Philippines, it being colonized, but also influences from places around it. Like the Philippines really is a melting pot, and I think what the music does justice is demonstrate that diversity.
I felt this sense of like community, knowing that like there was something tangible, like for me being a Filipino American, you didn't really have tangible Filipino American culture or any kind of Filipino culture. So Sayaw, learning how to play the bandurria, that to me was tangible, and that was something at least I could connect back to my own Filipino culture. So this thing looks daunting. So there's like 14 strings. Mm-hmm. This is pretty old itself, it's not mine, but there's 14 strings, but they're grouped in a way so you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and like each of those 6, I don't know what you call groupings, are tuned the same, so this is when it goes 1 string, 2 strings, 2 strings, and then 3 strings, 3 strings, 3 strings. That's like 14 strings. And then, do you want me to go into like how I learned how to play it? The first time I learned how to play this thing, I listened to a recording of Pandango sa Ilaw, which was like the first song that you kind of learn how to dance to in Sayaw. And I just kind of like went by ear, just trying to find the notes. So that's like the start of the song, and that's like probably the first thing I learned how to do on the bandurria.
A memory that comes to mind, I would say, is probably my first performance with Sayaw. It was for an event at a church. It's called Simbang Gabi, so it's within like the Christmas time season. It's like a special mass leading up to Christmas time. And I have that specifically in my head because all the aspects that I mentioned before, they started forming like from there, I would say. And also it's like, this sounds kind of weird, I think, but it's almost like as if I was like following my ancestors' footsteps, because like my first exposure to Filipino folk dance was actually my mother. She and a couple of her friends had performed a dance for like this event, and it had to do with like swinging lanterns. So it's like candles within like a lantern, and I was like, well, what is this? And it's like, wow, I like did a dance that was almost similar to that, so it's like I'm essentially following in those like cultural footsteps. So that was the beginning of my journey of like discovering Filipino roots, but through something that I hold close to my heart, which is the performing arts. As I'm listening to the cooling song playing downstairs, it gives me like a good sense of, well, one, urgency, because it's like, oh my goodness, it's a song, I know the dance, we need to perform it now. But it also gives me comfort in knowing that like this is music that comes from my culture, and it's just, I think it's just so cool and so mind-blowing how like that sort of music, along with like the dances as well, have like basically continued to exist throughout however many years ago that it originated. So it's like, in a sense, it almost like transcends time, if that makes sense. I don't know, yeah, it's really cool.